and I like it. But people, and it's obviously it's a marketing and persuasion to get these laws and stuff. But it's like every tragedy that happens when any gun or something is involved, they say, "Oh, we gotta get rid of guns. We gotta get rid of this. We gotta get right." There was something. I think it was in like not Oregon. I don't think it was Oregon, but I think it was either Oregon or Colorado, or they were trying to ban guns um, with pretty much with removable magazines. That's 90%. Like that's pretty much all guns.
Yeah.
Like you feel me? So they were trying to push that through. I don't know if it got approved or not, but like that's something that they were trying to push through. It's like you ban that, you pretty much banning majority of guns. Like so, people of that state ain't even gonna be able to get firearms. And people are agreeing to this type of stuff. Like, what are we doing? What are
Yeah.
we doing?
Yeah, I think it needs to be a little tougher to acquire guns, but I feel
I don't
like
even like that because the problem is who's dictating that? The government. Okay, so you allow the government to make it tougher. What does that look like? You know what I mean? Like
I
what do
mean, I don't feel like you should be able to buy a gun. You can't even buy like a pack of jewels. Like, that don't make sense to me. You could buy you
well
can go and die. You can't even buy a beer yet. Like, I feel
well
like there's gotta be some.
I think that's a different argument. I think, but because the problem is the Second Amendment is a right, and buying jewels and beer is a privilege. So they can take away or do away with some of that stuff. You're not supposed to be able to take away your rights. Like nobody can dictate. You can say this, this, and this. As long as you're not inciting violence, you can say you have freedom of speech to say whatever you want. Like we can sit up here and say, all right, Trump isn't doing this, this, and this right. If we left that as a privilege, the government could then come in, which we see in other countries. They can say, no, you can't say that about such and such, and you could be arrested for those types of things. And that's why we got to be careful about when we having these conversations, not to confuse things with rights and privilege.
But I
There's
don't
a
think
there's
it's
a difference.
necessarily you're not
And
taking away the right.
I disagree with the drinking and buying the jewels at 21 anyway. Like because we can go to war. Like
Yeah.
at 18, both of us could have signed up for the military, went to war, and died for our country. At 18 years old, and never could have been able to buy a beer.
I
I
agree.
went and used the gun then. I can't. I can use a gun to protect the country, but I can't use the gun at home. What are we talking about? Like at 17, you can technically, if you get signed off by your guardian, you can go. So, like I don't like that argument. I don't like that argument, man. I get it, but it's like
I
we
mean,
can
it's
do
different when
everything else.
cause I feel like you join the military, you're trained. Like you're a trained professional. Like you trained to go to war. Like,
Not all of them. Like you get the basic training, but after that,
but I
they don't
mean,
be shooting their guns no more. Like
just because a lot of the conversation, really, the gun conversation comes when there's these mass shootings, especially like
yeah,
school shootings,
exactly.
and like these kids. A lot of these kids just want to do it for the hype, like this is like their legacy, like so they think they're leaving their name, like their name's gonna be known when it's left behind, like they did something, and I
And that's
mean,
part in the media, like how the way the media portrays it.
no, that is true. That is true, especially for the ones that stayed alive. I ain't gonna lie, they be protected. They be protected. You don't even know them folks be alive, get back in the community, and you don't
And
even know.
I, I, one thing, and we, I'm gonna close out for me on this subject at least today. Don't when we having these like people gotta not have these conversations emotionally. Like, because once you give the government something, they're not giving it back. So once you give them, all right, we ain't gonna do this no more. You gonna have to fight a very long. You ain't gonna see the day when you get that back. More than likely. So don't give up your rights just because a tragic situation happened. Tragic situations happen. People, the dude that was it was talking about the dude that ran over a whole bunch of people with his truck. Like, we should we ban cars now? All the people that die in car accidents, should we just start banning people from driving cars? No, like that's not a thing. Like,
You talking about Mardi Gras?
No, not even just Mardi. There was another situation in the Mardi Gras thing too. Which he eventually got out and started shooting people. But there was another situation where they were running people over with a truck. I can't remember where it is. I have to look it up. But it's all these weird situations. There was that time the dude in I think it was in the UK was stabbing, like he was just going around stabbing a bunch of people every night. Like, it was people popping up. Like, so, like, should you ban knives? Like, no. Like, you don't make decisions based on emotions. But the people that want to make these changes always use that. So then you'll see it on the news nonstop for the next 3 weeks, and all you hear about is all the negatives. Boom, 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 negative after negative after negative after negative, and they try to link them all together and say, this is why we need to get rid of this. But in the grand scheme of things, we got 400 million guns in this country. And you hear about how many shootings? Like, because there's, you can literally look up the data. Like, most years it's, and I'm not discrediting any of it, but it's like around 40,000, and half of those are, people taking their own lives with weapons. Like, so in the grand scheme of things, it's a very small number. But so you shouldn't dictate the entirety of a population based on what some people did with their own, with abusing their own rights, because obviously there's always going to be the small amount of people that abuse their rights, and then on top of it, you're not going to get rid of every single gun. You can't even get rid of all the drugs that you've been trying to get rid of, and you're not going to stop the criminals from doing criminal activity.
I don't think they really was trying to get rid of the drugs. They just police it differently. But to counter your point, it is hard to leave the emotions out of it, especially when people are directly affected. Because it's more than just the people involved. Like, this affects communities and groups and stuff like that. And all you get in return is thoughts and prayers. Like, the government responds to a lot of things and make changes when they feel necessary. Like, one person or one incident can spark a change, and they've shown that in a lot of different ways, and especially with like how strict all this other stuff gets. Like, gun violence is a major problem in America. Like,
it's not as major as what people make it out to be, though.
It's one of the biggest in the country.
Based on what?
What do you mean? Based on
the gun violence has pretty much, outside of 2020, has been pretty much like this for decades.
But just because
not saying it's been like sweetened, but our per capita. So if you do it like per capita, we don't have the worst gun violence compared to some other countries.
We're not worried about other countries. We worry
about us. You gotta compare it to something else. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't say something.
You can compare it to us. You can compare it to us.
What can you compare it to other than the other years?
Over the years, exactly.
If it's been like this, how can you compare it?
But that's after it's only been going up. We ain't been having no decline over these decades. No, it's only been going up.
It has not been going up significantly. It went up during the pandemic. Like in 2021, it had a big spike, and then it came back down.
So you don't think?
No, I know. Like, I actually know.
You don't think?
Like, we can talk about the stats and stuff another episode, but
You don't
like I
think
noticed for sure.
the gap in 2020 from 1950? You don't think that's a significant gap?
Um, maybe because there's more people.
Key, it's not a maybe. Like, it is a significant gap.
Like we could look up the stat, but like there's the the reason isn't because gun violence is worse. It's because there's more people. Like if you put 1,000 people in a situation versus you put 100,000 people in a situation, of course the numbers are going to increase.
So why China? Because we not the biggest. We don't got the most people. So why China don't got all these gun violence problems?
You want to live in a China dictatorship?
A lot of people do. Like, a lot of people
A
live
lot
more
of
there
people
than
don't
here.
have. Yeah, a lot of people don't have choices to go anywhere.
I'm just saying.
The same way we talk about like stuff in like people will be like, oh, why don't the homeless people just leave California? Well, they can't afford to go somewhere. If they can't afford to go somewhere in their own country, what do you think people in the China Republic can do? Like everybody ain't rich over there. It's a few rich people just like over here, and they control a lot more than what they control here. So no, they can't. Yes, you got a lot of people, and you talking about a lot of people. China's population is going down rapidly. Like they're trying to get people to have more babies. They can't. They can't keep up with their population, and that's a problem that they got that's in their economy is because because of that one child rule that they had when their population was skyrocketing. Now they got rid of that, and they trying to give people any incentives to have more babies because they have more older people than they have younger people. So we can talk about they got more people right now, but if they don't fix something, they gonna and there's a bunch of other countries that's in the same boat as well, where they ain't having enough babies over there, and it's gonna look scary in the next few decades. But as far as their gun violence, they are a dictator. Like they ain't allowing that. Like, oh, North Korea doesn't have gun violence. Well, motherfucker, people in North Korea can't do nothing. People in China can't do nothing. Like, what are we talking about? And we don't even know what's going on in China. It ain't like we got all the information of what's going on in China. Like, so I don't think that's a good comparison. Like, they can't even talk bad about their government. We can't have the conversation that we have in China. So
I don't
we
think
want to compare it to China.
When you turn people into statistics, I just don't think you hold the true value of the person. And I think that's where I think your argument is based on numbers and statistics. You're not really truly valuing the person.
No,
Because
I
feel
value people.
you feel like 40,000 shootings a year, like
But
you
on
feel
the
like
majority
that's acceptable.
No, I don't feel like that's acceptable. Don't paint that.
You said because it's steady, it's acceptable.
Can you not paint that picture of him?
That's not what you said.
That is not what I said.
40,000 a year. Them other countries got more than that. That's not even bad per capita.
No.
Per capita.
If we're having a conversation about what rights you should give up and what you shouldn't give up, and where you should base the conversation out of, we can't base it out of emotion of what you feel. Yes, I know people that have died because of gun violence. I'm not saying get rid of all guns because they died because of gun violence. You have to base it on something, and the thing that you got to base it on is numbers. There's at the end of the day, there has to be something you base it out of. Oh, the 40,000 gun deaths that they have, majority of them are suicides. They're not even somebody going out and killing them. And then another majority of that is people dying in the hood that motherfuckers that is having these conversations don't care about. If you ain't actually talk about mass shootings, those is even a smaller percentage of that. It's like not even 1,000 people per year that die because of mass shooting. So if we're talking about actual numbers of what we're talking about in this conversation, school shootings and mass shootings and stuff like that, it's a couple hundred. And no, I'm not saying that doesn't matter. No, it's not. No, you can look up the stats. I'm not making this shit up.
I'm gonna look up right now. I'm gonna look up
the stats.
How many people died last year in 2024?
We can share the screen. It ain't gonna show you 2024. It's gonna probably show you 2023, but. And I'll share it with the screen. Let me see. Gun violence. All right, I got gun violence archive. All right, let me share my screen. This is just the first one I see pop up. You see my screen?
No.
So this is the gun violence archive. We can look up another one. So deaths. That include. I guess this includes.
This is people who died by guns.
Yeah.
That's it. People who died by guns. So
Yeah.
notice how all of them is in the thousands.
So 2020 went up. No, they're not. Mass shootings. 332. 2015. 330. 40. 400. Everything went up in 2020, 2021. And then it started creeping down. 2024. 503. Mass murders. And then children, these are usually when people don't store their guns properly. Teenage, which could include kids doing, in the hood and stuff. And then officer killed versus injured. Defensive gun use, which gets put in these statistics as well. Unintentional shootings. And suicide by firearm, which is the majority number of what's up here. And we can look up another one. Let me see. Just the John Hopkins firearm violence.
I also feel like you make it seem like you gotta have it or you gotta don't. Like you either have the right or you don't. But like you can amend the right. And that's what I said was just gun control. You don't have to give up the right.
What gun control?
There's already gun control. There's already gun control.
Yes, there's already gun control. And what more gun control can you have that is going to stop people from doing criminal activities?
You can make it tougher.
Who is that making it tougher on? It's not making it tougher on the criminals that's getting guns. People can go on the street and get guns right now with no problem. That's not making it tougher on the people that's doing what they're supposed to do properly. It's making it tougher on me. Because I can't go get a gun easily.
I mean, you said people can go to the street. People can go to the sporting goods store and get a gun with no problem.
No, the ability. Hold on. We're conflating two different things. Laws that get passed, the sporting goods store is going to be there regardless. Laws getting passed to make it tougher on somebody, meaning you got to go through these hoops. Like in California, it's a lot tougher to get guns than it is here. They got to go through 6 months worth of paperwork and getting it approved and doing this and doing that. They can't go and get a background check and get a gun. We can do that here. In New York, you can't go to the store and get a gun because you got to jump through different hoops, pay different fees, all this stuff, and then you got to wait for somebody to approve it, and that might take a year or something. That's what happened. That's what we're talking about when people say gun control. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that the gun store is going to be gone now. No, the gun store is going to be there. Just the ability to get the gun is going to be different.
And that's literally.
But that doesn't change anything. People die in California and they got way stricter gun laws than North Carolina. Less people die in North Carolina than California. What's the point in that? So what are we talking about now? Way more people die in New York. Way more people die in these other places. Chicago. Illinois has one of the strictest gun laws, and they can't stop people from getting guns. What are we talking about? In Texas, you can walk in the supermarket and probably buy a gun. There's way less gun violence. So the point is, Gun control doesn't stop criminals from getting guns. It stops the regular everyday person that wants to protect themselves. Just like in the Ohio place, if they want to get a gun, it's going to be a lot harder for them to get a gun if you talk about gun control. That's what I'm saying. It's not making it harder on the criminals. The criminals going to get guns regardless. Look at all the places that have strict gun laws in Maryland. Maryland, right next to D.C. You don't think they got strict gun laws? Yes, they do. Way stricter than here. Way stricter than South Carolina. Way stricter than Texas. Way stricter than Florida. And they got way higher crime rate. Way higher crime rate. With guns. Does it stop the people from getting guns? No. At all. Not at all. It stops people that want to carry every single day from getting guns because it's that difficult. People talk about all the time, if you pay attention, in New York, they can't get guns because you can't get permits because the government doesn't approve. Or it takes them a year or plus to get them approved. Or it costs $1,000. People ain't got an extra $1,000 to put on top of the gun, on top of the classes that you got to take. Because in North Carolina, you got to take classes. You was talking about getting training. You got to get a concealed carry. You got to go to a class. You got to. That's what you should want. You should want training.
That is what I said though.
That is not what you said. You said control. When you start saying gun control, that is what they do, and we can see that by all the places that.
I said they need to make it. I just said they need to make it tougher. Like, and that is what.
That's not tougher.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You can't just go and get a gun. You have to have certified training in order to get it. You can literally have no training and go get a gun. Like, yes, that is making it tougher. Now you have to get certified training to get a gun.
First of all, you don't have to get certified training. You only got.
I'm saying if you. Carry. I'm saying that's what I'm saying.
That's only for concealed carry.
That's what I'm saying. But if you are making to make it tougher, to make it change the gun control, like make people, if you want a gun, you have to be certified to use it.
That's different. That's different than gun control. That's just saying go get training.
That is gun control. No, it is gun control.
It's the things that I just listed off that they're doing in all the states that say they got.
It's all under the same umbrella. It's all.
And that's the problem. It's all under the same umbrella. So when you start saying government, okay, y'all dictate what we can do, and then the government is going to say, all right, on top of getting training, you're going to have to pay all these fees. We're going to dictate when you can and can't get it, and we're going to make it a long process, and it's going to take you a year or 2 years to get your guns. That's what they're going to do because we see it in Oregon, we see it in California, we see it in New York, we see it in Maryland, we see it in Illinois, we see it in all the countries, in all the states that say they got gun control. In every single state that say they got strict gun control, they doing all the same things. So when you say gun control, that's what it means. Now you may mean training, okay, cool. Nobody that is on the side of 2A is going to say, oh yeah, you shouldn't get training. Everybody's going to tell you to go get training because you're going to look like an idiot when you, I literally told my brother-in-law because they had somebody come, they thought somebody was coming in the house and they was fumbling around with the gun. This is what they told me. They was like, they fumbling around with the gun or whatever. It was like, bro, go get some training. So I'm not against training, and nobody that actually uses guns or has guns around is going to tell you, oh yeah, don't get training. Nobody's going to say that. Everybody's going to tell you to go get training. But nobody's going to tell you, oh yeah, we should allow the government to dictate gun control. No, it's all right. You should be able to go get a gun. Now, your dumb ass better go get some training, but you should be able to go get a gun. But when you start saying gun control, we have examples. We have examples in the United States of places that have way stricter gun laws that goes under gun control, like you was just saying, that goes under gun control that is nothing to do with training. It's just we're going to dictate when you can and get this gun. And that's a fact. That ain't nobody's opinion. That's what's going on. And you can go to these, you can't even carry in certain places. If you get a gun license in North Carolina, you can't even carry in some places because of how strict their gun laws is.
I gotta get ready for work, man.
Yeah. Go get educated, people.